Well, the weather outside is weather. 17 degrees, that is the current temperature in Boise. Not a great temperature if you're looking to spend time outside, if you're a warm-blooded animal. But what if you aren't a warm-blooded animal or a sentient being at all? Well, there's actually a collection of so-called beings that are popping up around Boise, and they're thriving in the freezing cold. Their lifespan, though, probably won't make it into the spring months. But for now, the coolest crew in town. So where do they come from? How do they get there? What am I talking about at all? Well, it can only be one thing: the Snowman delivery service. Duh. Some things just catch your eye, and a truck full of snow people probably falls into that category.
Yep, we're out here delivering snowmen. We got a truckload of snowballs and a route of deliveries to do, so we can get people snowmen before Christmas.
Keith and his daughter Leva run the Anderson family side business. It's snowman delivery, and they have this down to a science.
About 5 years. We've been doing this for about 5 years. Before Christmas, it's extremely popular. Once the Christmas music stops, so too do the snowman sales generally.
The snowman game is a cold weather operation, but the conditions...
The sun kind of melts it a little bit, so we're gonna have to take the saw, and then we're gonna scrape it. It kind of rounds it up, makes it look nice again.
They still need to be just right.
Oh, today's great. Today's great. I mean, basically, you have to go roll those snowballs at that right moment when it gets above freezing just after it snows. And in this case here, we were able to roll a bunch of high slush content balls that froze up, and they've been frozen for over a week now. Looks like they'll be frozen for about another week.
Maybe the specific crunch of the snow gives you a hint. The freezing temperatures are great for the survival of the snowman species.
And so, I mean, they've been really ideal conditions for snowmen.
Leva will tell you, the snowmen are a hit around town.
It's really fun because like a lot of people love them and they smile when they see them.
Let's be clear though, this holiday magic, yeah, it takes work.
Yeah, some people say, oh, you're an artist, but I think it's more like a laborer because honestly, between rolling the balls, moving the balls, transporting the balls, and I mean, there's a lot, it's more work. You know, it's a fair amount of work.
Having work, though, even if it is freezing cold outside, it's a good thing.
I was unemployed when I started this. I was freshly laid off from a long-term job and feeling like it was a disaster, and so this was a convenient springboard that led me onto other things.
Now, snowmen are a side biz for the Andersons, and business and the weather, it's been great for this.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's really taken off.
So as work on this snowman setup comes to a close, Keith and Leva are off to the next spot. On their way, they know that these cold critters are likely to warm up the people they pass.
Hanging out with my daughter, frankly, watching the smiles around town. I mean, everything from, you know, putting them in the back of the truck to delivering them to watching people get them. A lot of times they're surprise deliveries. I mean, it just smiles all around.
So there you go. They may be in your neighborhood, and you can learn more about their Facebook page. We'll have it linked right on our story at ktvb.com to search for the Snowman Delivery in Boise, Idaho. And you know what? This reminds me, this is a great chance for us to talk with meteorologist Sophia Bliss. Sophia, I started the 208 saying that it was 17 degrees.
Yep.
Any movement on that? Has it gotten colder in the last few minutes?
Nope, definitely not in the past few minutes, but it was definitely colder this morning, Joe. And I want to know if you actually stepped foot outside this morning, because I know that I did not. I know these temperatures. You did? Okay.
I took the dog out this morning, and I can tell, just based on his bathroom behavior, it was too cold because he went and went right back inside.
Yep, that's sure, telltale sign. Telltale sign of it being too cold. So let's start off with some of the low temperatures that we saw this morning. Negative 17 degrees in the McCall area. If we go over to Stanley, negative 27. How are we doing, Stanley? That's really cold, even for Stanley standards. And you can see over in the valley areas, we saw lots of single-digit temperatures. In Jerome, just 1 single degree for the low temperature this morning. And as Joe mentioned, we did warm up. We're in the teens in many of those valley locations. And before we get ready for the holiday, I want to talk about what we're expecting for some of the snow. We are expecting some more snow to add to those snowmen, perhaps in those valley locations. So we are expecting the snow to start to move in the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours of Friday. So we expect that to start to move in. And then that continues in light snow showers throughout the day. And then you can see much more scattered in nature as we go into the afternoon hours. You can see over in the Magic Valley, that snow kind of moves in for them a little bit later. And then it stays scattered as we go all the way through Saturday. Now, Saturday, we start to see maybe a little bit more of a rain-snow mix as temperatures start to change and we get more mild air into our area. And then we get a bit of a break on Saturday, and then we're looking at another chance of some of that moisture moving back in. And this one may be, again, not a rain-snow mix at times for those valley locations while the mountains are still seeing snow. So we do expect some of that to kind of change as those temperatures are going to be very close to freezing. So you may see some of that change in the forecast, but Sunday morning, Christmas morning, may look like we have a little bit of rain-snow mix or rain at times. Now, we're not expecting a huge snowstorm out of this. We are expecting those snow totals to stack up just a little bit. McCall will be some of the higher totals for the area. Not expecting 10 inches, but maybe between 4 and 6. And all those higher snow totals are going to be favored in the western portions of the state. And we will continue to be tracking that snow for you.
All right, thank you, Sophia. Bottom line, stay warm out there. And if, all of our snow stories haven't gotten you in the holiday spirit, maybe this next story will. We know there are plenty of Christmas displays, big and small, across the Treasure Valley. With the Matunas house, though, right in Boise, they lean towards the latter. They have a very impressive display. Though the displays are miniature, there is no shortage of the spirit in their house. Photojournalist Kevin Esslinger shows us the close-up look at Christmas at their home.
It took me about 4 days to get it all set up. I kind of do it in sections. And it's been a family tradition. I just call this the North Pole Village. And I'm Deb Matunas. The train station was the very first piece that my husband received. That started the whole thing. But then our son was born and we decided to do North Pole Village. This little donut shop is the first one that Ryan, our son, ever got. That's the one he picked out when he was 3. Each year he would get a piece or 2, and it's blossomed into this. Maybe around 170, maybe a little more. We're not quite sure. These are the original Snow Village. These are some of the older pieces, the first pieces that were ever made. And I think the older pieces, because all the little windows are cut out, the light really comes out of them. The North Pole is actually where everything is made for Santa to give away. So there's just a lot of factories because it's all elves making things for Santa. Well, this section I tried to make the eating section, and with all the restaurants that we have. There's a diner, the Red Elf Diner, there's the Irish Pub, Caribou Cafe, and the pizza place, and of course the Dairy Queen. This is one of my favorites. I make it so it looks like it's up in the mountains. It just always seems so warm and cozy. I think because of the trees, the green and the trees and stuff. And this area I set up as the park where they're having a fun run and they can go ice skating, play on the teeter-totter, and they can go on a train ride. There is a lot of activity going on here in the park. And then down below are just more factories, everywhere from making snow to snow globes. Well, this area I set up as the downtown area, and they have the town hall and the hall of records. There's the fire station. They have the central little area where people come and read their newspaper. And then over here is the outside of town. And this is where people go and they buy their Christmas trees. There's a Christmas tree farm. They're giving reindeer rides and having hot chocolate, and there's a petting zoo. Well, we did get a new piece this year. So yes, once in a while we add a piece, but not like we used to, because we are running out of room. Yeah, it does make it feel a little more Christmassy and magical.
The holidays are all about being with family. It's the inherent thread that strings each generation to the next. Traditions, pastimes, stories, they all have to be passed down. It's part of our history. It's what makes our history. And history was made this week as Bogus Basin turns 80 years old. Happy birthday. Now, the nonprofit recreational area opened as just a little ski hill back in the year 1942. It's now the largest nonprofit ski area in the entire country. But the people of Boise will tell you, Bogus blossomed into something much, much more. Andrew Bartline explains.
Stepping into this chapter of the book won't give the full picture, but the landscape can be scaled.
Oh, absolutely.
Naomi Shapiro's a regular around here.
Yes.
Skiing at Bogus is part of her identity.
Yeah, I'd say I'm more coordinated on skis than I am just walking around.
It's carved into the hillside, somewhere between the stories and the memories passed down from generation
Let's see. I'm trying to think of stories he's told me.
to generation.
Can we come back to that one?
Yeah, we can even start from the beginning.
The mountains above Boise have much to offer.
Actually, Bogus Basin has a really good archive.
Eve Chandler would know, because she literally wrote the book
Right.
to document it all.
Well, Bogus Basin got its name because 3 swindlers did try to create bogus gold using sand, a little bit of silver, and a tiny bit of gold to create fake gold. And then they sold it both in the city of Boise and Idaho City. They were caught and prosecuted, and they decided that that basin where they created that fake gold should be known as Bogus Basin.
The name stuck, even as the plot remained largely dormant for decades until Boiseans flipped to a new chapter.
Beginning of Sun Valley in 1936 got a lot of people in the Boise area thinking about a ski area for our own town. And they started at Pilot's Peak near Idaho City and went all the way to the summit at Horseshoe Bend Hill. But when they went to Schaefer Butte and stood underneath Schaefer Butte, they looked at the terrain and said, this is the perfect place for a mountain recreational area and a ski area. And that's how it came to be selected for Bogus Basin. It took a lot of volunteer labor. They only had 1 rope tow, and it was really just a small town of 25,000 people when they did open Bogus Basin.
It was built by the community, for the community, and that we're doing well now and continuing to serve a lot of people every year is really phenomenal. So we're
Bogus
excited
spokesperson
to-
Susan Sad is quick to credit the book's binding, the glue that makes all chapters possible.
And I love the first line that she has, the magic of Bogus Basin lies within its people.
Bogus has now documented these people in a new book, appropriately named 80.
It's an adventure, not an ordeal, we like to say.
Appropriately written by its people.
Is there anything else?
With one passage penned
Yeah, I read through some of it.
by yours truly.
Long before the sun has even started to rise, I'm squished into the back seat of an early 2000s pickup between a cooler and a couple pairs of ski boots. My grandpa and one of his patrol buddies are in front, blasting K-hits and flying up Bogus Basin Road. I can trace most of the important life lessons from my adolescence to skiing and being a Bogus. Bogus has always been a part of my family's life. My grandpa started on ski patrol in 1959, and my grandma started soon after, becoming one of the first women on patrol.
Family.
If you look closely, you can see her wig that she skied in. Always very stylish on the hill.
Used to skiing.
My grandmother had passed away in August, and it felt like kind of a nice tribute to her to talk about my family's experience up here.
Naomi wrote this story around the same time, which is why it misses one crucial detail.
My grandpa passed away last week, and when I think of Bogus, I think of him, and kind of vice versa. When I think of him, I think of Bogus. And,
Naomi isn't the only
I
one.
know-
Yes, I know he was up there working in the 50s as a ski patroller.
65 years in total, Omar Fricke was a cornerstone of the Bogus Basin Ski Patrol.
His stories are in the book. He has helped so many people in the ski patrol.
The people, Omar, made him feel like they belong.
I think that everybody feels that they own a part of Bogus Basin.
But Omar,
Yeah.
he's written in ink.
You can see it right up there.
Omar's inspiration, a run forever dedicated to the man who gave 65 years of his life to the mountain.
Such a nice thing.
He's a staple in the 80-year history, propped for the next generation to write the next chapter.
Some things, however, will never change. I still wake up before dawn and drive up the mountain on weekends. A breakfast burrito and a little altitude change still feel like the solution to most of my problems. And there's some comfort knowing that my Bogus family and I, too, have many more decades to ski together.
And as you can probably tell from that picture, Omar's inspiration was dedicated to him before Omar passed away last week. And that was something that she was very excited about, Joe Naomi, is that he got to see that, got to experience that. But it is really cool how Bogus Basin has this really long history, and they could create a documentary or do whatever they'd like to do. But they're going to have a book that is having the people tell what those stories are, because in their eyes, that is the history of Bogus Basin. 80th birthday, and they're letting the people that go to the mountain tell the story.
And it really shows like the importance and the thread that runs through this community to Bogus Basin. I remember when I moved here from Colorado, people talked about Bogus Basin as the greatest ski opportunity ever. And I remember going up there and enjoying the skiing and then talking with people up there, and I said, well, you know, do you think these are the best runs ever? They say, no one's saying this is the best skiing in the world. It's the best experience, and it's the stories that make it that way.
And it's pretty cool that it's a nonprofit too. Largest nonprofit ski area in the United States. That's kind of a cool thing to have here in Boise.
And sorry, let me not mince words here. It is fantastic skiing up at Bogus Basin. Let me be very clear here. But anyways, you know, people will always say, well, I skied this mountain in this continent. Bogus Basin here in the Boise area. Fantastic.
Great place.
All right, well, Andrew, thank you for sharing the story. The 208 rolls on after this. In today's edition of the 7 Stories of the 208, we're looking back at a story that's all about hair. That's right, mustaches, beards, and locks. The running magazine Citius Mag ran their annual team headshot roundup back in September, and they scour the team websites looking for the oddest compilation of team pictures. And the 2022 Santa Clara University men's cross-country team became an instant favorite. It's not unusual for teams to do some weird team building during the summer off-season, and for the Bronco runners, part of that team, that meant growing mustaches for the last decade or so. Every year, though, facial hair is just the first step towards a tradition that is turning a lot of heads.
Like a lot of things these days, it all started with one tweet. TB from Tulsa tweeting 3 days ago, "Santa Clara men's cross-country team is the most incredible thing I've ever seen." Well, 160,000 or so likes later, and a run through the roster, it's tough to argue that take. Sure, there's the cool comb-back coif of Dominic, but beyond that, it's a team page filled with facsimiles of smiles and hair don'ts. From the Dupree brothers to Spencer Fisher's stash, a handlebar that seems to be mishandled.
It's like a war leader or something like that, like a general. He just, yeah.
Oliver Brandon Upton looks like he just woke Upton. And Harvey Chilcott, or should I say Harvey Bolcutt, am I right? A scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll find two Boise boys, Nick Russell and Josh Simboli. You know, Josh didn't always look this way, like when he was helping set the school relay record at Timberline in 2019. A year before, Nick was Idaho's Gatorade Runner of the Year for Bishop Kelly. But those accolades pale in comparison to this new notoriety.
I don't think any of us expected it to blow up the way it did. It was definitely cool to have Citius Mag do it for the second year in a row, and we were super pumped about that. But then for it to go like all over Twitter and have people making like TikToks about it and having like all these news articles has been like pretty surreal.
These roster picks began as a fanciful idea for facial hair about 10 years ago.
I never even thought of like trying to destroy my roster photos until I got here, and the guys were like, "Oh, it's a tradition, you have to do it." And we're like, "All right."
And that tradition has since taken a turn.
So are runners just odd dudes in general?
Yeah, definitely not like normal, I'd say. I think we bring out like the worst in each other too when it comes to like goofiness. We just, I don't know, one person does something and then we all get in on it. But yeah, everyone, like I said, everyone gets in a line and then it's just one right after another. And then you guys have seen the result. It just has a bunch of us looking like lunatics.
And the responses have been almost as crazy, like this description of Nick's pick.
My daughter says this dude is on his second divorce with 6 kids, 4 from their first wife, 2 from the second, and he lives in his car.
Yeah, definitely. People are getting creative with the roasts and everything. And that's been the trending comment, is that Nick looks like he's like 45.
Others look like they had a fight with their barber.
Yeah, it's a team photo, but you've stuck with it. Is it going to stay?
I don't know. Like I said, my mom will, she'll probably see this or read about it and be like, "You need to shave," because she says she likes when she can see my face. So I guess the mustache and the longish hair doesn't really help that, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm liking it right now. I have no plans of shaving, but who knows? I might get an angry call from mom and need to shave it off.
But not if it's going to jeopardize the juju of the running season.
We got a really good team this year, so we're super excited to show people what we can do and, try to put ourselves on the map other than just goofy roster photos.
Whether you believe it or not, that actually might have been the most viewed story on YouTube from the 208 all year long. Hashtag the more you know. Well, Josh told us back in September that some of his teammates have since shaved their stashes more than halfway. All right, we'll wrap up with your comments right after this break. All right, let's see what you had to say about the show. Bum, ba-da-da. This person says, I love seeing the stories of Idaho history. Great job and happy holidays. That's from Brian, not Holmes. Thank you, Brian. This person says, an engineering job at HP in Bogus Basin is what got me to Boise over 42 years ago. I'm retired from HP, but not from Bogus. That's Jack in Boise. Yes, Jack, we'll see you up there at Bogus Basin. Great skiing there. This person says, Omar Frick was our high school geometry teacher at Meridian High School in the early 1960s. It is a small world. Thanks for the memories. That's Anna and John. Anna and John, thank you for writing in. And Kathy says, families don't build their own snowmen. Hashtag the 208. I think part of Kathy's comment got cut off there, but she was complimenting the work of the snowman delivery that we talked about. And yes, back to the beginning there. We love seeing the holiday stories. And tomorrow will be the final episode of the 208 for the year 2022. So join us tomorrow just before 5 for an all-time spectacular Friday night show. We will be here. We hope you can join us. Stay warm out there. It is very cold. We'll see you tomorrow.